everyone. Welcome to the second week of the podcast, the third episode. We just finished week 2 for Doug, and this is Living Zoi podcast. So that's what we focus on is fitness, faith, health, and wealth. And today we are on a journey of watching and seeing Doug in the journey of what is it like to take on the pursuit of fitness and health in his life in this season. So we're going to dive right into it. But Doug, how's your weight today? How many pounds have you lost? And how are you doing, man?
So I texted it to you earlier. I'm down 2 more pounds. And that's even with having been at the river over the weekend and not really being able to follow the plan as I was hoping there'd be more opportunities for, but I was watching just portions and again, still kind of relying on the triangle shaped meals and not overdoing it in any sense. So I'm actually pretty relieved that I didn't gain any back. But yeah, I'm down to 2 more pounds. So
What's
it's a total of 9 pounds.
Okay. Question. You said you weren't able to do the plan. You weren't able to, or you didn't choose to?
No, it was really difficult because we were staying with some friends that were hosting, and we didn't get to. There were just limited options and limited time with having our kids, and they had prepped some meals for, ease and time. But most of the days we were actually out on the boat a couple days, so there was no way to meal prep. So I kind of just made the best of the options that we had, and then the protein shakes. So a little bit of both, Kevin.
Excuses.
Are you happy?
Look what you did, you little jerk.
What I love about this is a lot of times, like, we kind of had this convo a little bit before the trip too, of like, how do we prep for this? Do we get to go to the grocery store? All these different things. And what I love is sometimes we have this preconceived idea that we got it, and then we get there, and if we kind of just fall into other people's patterns and processes, and it's kind of like, I just want to be here, and sometimes it's other stuff comes up. So I'll love to kind of dive into that with you, Doug. Is like,
yeah,
what do you like? Because this more than anything, this should be a learning opportunity for you, because every time you learn in this, you grow and you become and you get better at it. So
right.
What do you think were some of the things that just got in the way of the journey for you?
Well, I think energy and planning, limited energy, especially with being in the heat. It ended up being up to 125 degrees this last weekend. So really just, and that's at the peak in the day. It was, average 120. So really just, I guess it was just hard to prioritize the meal plan.
Things are going to come up that kind of deter us or distract us or pull us out of alignment. Right. And now that we know, okay, these types of trips, they might come again. And as they do come again, what we get to do now is like, okay, now we can have even more strategy to them. And and of course, like this is your life, right? And this is what I love about walking with people is everybody is slightly different, but we all have obstacles we get to overcome to make success. Right. Now, let me highlight something real quick for you too. Is these are some of the things that have been pulling you out of alignment. And
these are forces that have been there, for years.
Yep. And so the reason why we bring structure around someone in this time and kind of give them parameters, it reveals what gets in the way. And if we don't, we can't really see what's there, because we're just repeating patterns that are how our brains function. This is normal life, right? And we just get stuck in that pattern, and it's easy to choose that. And what you're learning is, okay, how do I overcome that? Great news, you're still 2 pounds down, right? and I think that's the best part of this. And even now, here's the next hurdle we're coming across. But you already solved it this morning. Is when we come home,
Hmm.
this trip maybe was somewhat relaxing, but also at the same time is probably a lot. So because of that,
Right.
you're a little bit more. You're not really refreshed as much. But how do we
Right.
get refreshed? And how we get refreshed is just to get the meal prepping going and go grocery
Yeah.
shopping. So you got those already dialed in and coming to
Hmm.
you. So I that's the next best thing, right? Is okay. How do we get the ball
Yeah, kind of
rolling again?
resetting and planning the week ahead because it's already, happening.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. So that's the best part. I'm really excited for this next week for you because here's reality. We don't need perfection. We
Hmm.
just need that constant pursuit because every week you're going to get better and better and better. And then you have momentum building, but not only momentum do you have, but you have this incredible other aspect of just the longevity, right? Is like
Hmm.
now it's 9 pounds. Next week it's going to be like 11 or 12 pounds. And then each week that we go on, it's you're chipping away at the bigger goal. And then when we
Hmm.
get closer to the end, it's wow, I already took this weight off of me. How good do I feel?
Got it.
And part of it is just the commitment to the journey, the consistency to the journey. And that's a little bit. I hope what you feel along this journey compared to other times is you have grace,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
you have a sense of room to just learn. It's not about doing it perfect, it's about staying committed. And
Right. Yeah. I think I do have kind of the all or nothing, kind of perfectionistic tendency. But I guess, I think for me, knowing that like, oh, I didn't do, what I'm supposed to do, I kind of go to all or nothing, which is the shame of not doing it perfectly. So, why keep trying or why keep going? But I do see it as kind of a long term. I'm coming back to our first conversation about habits. So,
yeah,
habits are not perfection, but habits are enough to kind of come back to and um, rely on when I went out of town for a few days and it completely messed everything up. So,
yeah,
um,
I think
yeah.
it's I think it's really good that this kind of happened. Just and I know not because like you're feeling shame or anything like that, but I feel like it's good because it's like it's a little bit of adversity and it gives you like a little bit of a challenge, but not like a permanent challenge. And so I think on the aspect of that, like the whole goal of this podcast is to kind of uh, portray this and like give people an inside view of it,
Hmm.
uh, like past, present, current. Um, so I think everybody would be relating to that as well, who like maybe watching this or whatever, or
Hmm.
have gone through it. But I also think too, like everybody who's done it, there's not like an ideal time to like start any of this. Like, granted, you probably started at maybe like the second worst time of the year, like summer with vacations and stuff like that. And
Right.
there's
The day before the 4th of July.
yeah, and I think the worst time would technically probably be the holidays, like Christmas,
Sure.
Thanksgiving, all that stuff. But there's no ideal time to start this, and I think it's good because like with the all or nothing, because like I'm very similar mindset. I think with the all or nothing, it's gonna allow you to like mess up or not really mess up, but like continue to learn or like backstep a little bit, but
Hmm.
also learn that like okay, I can backstep, but I can come right back and I can kind of jump back on the train and not really worry about that and move forward. And it'll be like little moments of like okay, I'm very all or nothing, but I have the capability to not be all or nothing, to not be
Right.
black
Yeah.
or white, but be able to be like, okay, I can be in the gray, and I
Hmm.
can continue to move forward, and it'll allow you to like help focus on those positives, like Jeremy said, like you're still down 2 pounds, and even if you weren't, even if you were up 2 pounds, your net would still be
it's
down
to be
5
okay.
pounds.
Right. That's a
Yeah,
good point. Yeah.
yep,
Yeah.
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 I think that's where
What?
I kind of did what I could, which was, yeah, I could have done more, I guess. But I guess what I worked on primarily was portion and, um, and there were still elements of the meals that still had a protein, a carb, and a vegetable. They just weren't exactly the way I would have prepped them, or they had more sauces or more, elements or more cheese, particularly probably was more higher in the fat category.
Yeah. And I
Than
would focus on that. Like I would focus on like, okay, I still looked at my portions. I still like um, tried to get the triangle in, maybe a rainbow of the colors of foods and stuff like that. And like
Mhm.
it's like, okay, from 2 weeks ago, I wouldn't have been doing that. From 2 weeks
Yeah.
ago, I wouldn't have even considered that.
Yeah,
And just try to focus on those like those little positives, and that's
right.
what'll like keep you stepping forward.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
probably
And
would have been more indulgent. Go ahead.
yeah. Yeah, I would just add the great thing that you're learning even right now. Well, two things. What you're learning now is as long as it's propelling you forward with lessons, you'll always move forward.
Hmm.
If it gives you excuse to let things back in, then we're not really learning from it, right? So that's
Hmm.
that's something that we always have to delicately um, own is owning the journey rather than giving excuse or permission to settle for less.
Got it.
That's
Okay.
just I always want that tension there. It doesn't mean that we need perfection, but it's like, am I just giving myself excuses or am I really growing in this,
Hmm.
right? And you're growing in this. I want you to hear that. But I want to highlight that too in this because so often this could be that agent that just kind of like gives a well, I still lost weight and I still did this. So you know what? I'm just gonna go 80% this week,
Hmm.
rather than what if I go 100 and learn from this? Like what
Hmm.
else can I learn? And I think that's like important because also if you look back the second part, if you look back at your life, how you became a great therapist, it didn't happen overnight. Um,
Right.
and you didn't go like you had to move through all the emotions and the journey to get to be where you are. But guess what you did? Why you are here is
Hmm.
because you stayed committed. So
Hmm.
so there's so many tendencies of your life that already shows success. Now we just get to mirror it and practice it in this area of your life. And this
Right.
this has been one of those areas that just didn't get a priority.
Right.
And now
And
what
it's
we're
still
we're
hard to do that. Yeah.
yeah, and what we're seeking now is okay. The only way we can have intentionality in this is to give it priority,
Hmm.
and then as we do, what we're going to discover and find is this is the agent that gives the rest of our life even more room, even more capacity, and gives us the energy and the level of dealing with stress, everything that we want in our life to have. This is what these two elements of fitness and nutrition helps us to have that room for the rest of our life too,
Hmm.
and that's what you're discovering in this, and I think that's the best part, but I wanted to highlight those two things: the uh, learning and owning, and
Hmm.
then the other piece is trust that your life shows that you're successful, that you've
Okay.
stayed committed, and like let that be there because what's going to happen is like when things come up you go like no, I can do this and I want to. Now now the framing really matters. Okay, the
Right.
framing of the journey really matters because um it's kind of like what do I want out of this, and that's the other thing, like really own that because that's I think the part that makes this really special is what do I want to own in this. How does all that hit you?
Yeah, I guess what's coming up is, I think what I want out of it is yeah, it's seeing food as self care because I just have always thought of food as kind of an inconvenience, even though food is, can be pleasurable, food can be an experience, but overall, I feel like I wish I didn't have to stop to eat or plan my meals, but I think realizing that that's what my human body needs is structure for food, is kind of reminded me of the importance of that. And it's basic. It's right next to water. Before we can do anything, I need to focus on, water and nutrition. So it is different than, going through much of my life just kind of eating whatever I want. And that I think is what I have really learned is the ability to say, do I want that? Do I need that? And oftentimes the answer is not, I don't really need it. I can live without it. Um,
Yeah,
so,
that's great. That's so good. So let's kind of game plan this next week for you too in this
okay.
journey. So you're kind of finishing week 2. So week 3, what's always like one of the most important things about week 3 is keep it super simple.
Okay.
If you keep it simple, this is normally when bigger distractions start to rise and try to come into the picture. So, you know,
Got it.
um, it might be kid gets sick, or hey, I got these meetings I got to be a part of, and then
Mm-hmm.
the planning of planning ahead and keeping it simple will just make it so you just stay laser focused. And
Okay.
then week 4, what's always great about week 4 is like you got measurements coming up. So it's like, I really
Oh,
excited about seeing those numbers and seeing where I am and taking those pictures again. And then we put the side by side of the pictures and going, wow, my body's starting to change. This is really
okay.
exciting. But
Oh, I didn't
but
realize
that
we did that in between. That's good.
yeah. So that's like I would say part of the journey. Just so you guys both, Kevin knows this, but the first month you see a little bit of a change in the body, really more in the numbers and the inches you'll see it, and then
Mm-hmm.
the week 8 during the journey, that's when you're going to start to see a stark difference of the body and how
Okay.
much the body changes. And then by week 12, everyone around you is going to start to ask you, hey, are you doing something? There's something different about you. Like
Yeah.
what is it? It always happens that way. It's so funny.
Uh-huh.
Um, but that's going to be the best part. But the other thing I just want to highlight too, this week for you is I love for you at the end of the day to not focus on what you did wrong, but focus on what you did right,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and really sit with that and just say like, I'm so grateful for this. And then as you're sitting with that too, I want you to think about how um, how lucky you are to have the wife you have, how grateful you are to have the 2 daughters you have,
Mm-hmm.
and just the find gratitude at the end of the day, the gratitude of what's in your life, and the how the gratitude of what you've accomplished will set you up where you become more excited over the days and over the weeks, and then point towards the value of what because I chose this, what is this giving in my life more and more and more. And as you
Mm-hmm.
do, that's going to continue to invest in this more. It's going to give you more opportunity to go, oh, this is meaningful, this is significant. And before, like think about when we did the whole 28 that you call it, the whole 30.
Right.
What was the dialogue during it, right? It wasn't,
Mm.
this is releasing life into me. It's, why did we choose to do this? You know, and and
Right.
and so it
I
it
was
doesn't.
fighting it along the way. Yeah.
Yeah. So now it's like, how do we embrace the journey
Mm.
of like you are becoming the most incredible father you can ever be. You are loving your wife wholeheartedly now because you're loving yourself.
Hmm.
Before you're only giving her a fraction of you, but now you're good. You're giving her all of you, and like when that happens, watch out, because then everything has meaning. Everything has purpose,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where I think like in scripture it teaches that like it says put on the mind of Christ, put on these things, and the reason why is because it's showing us what more is there. Like there the definition of sin is simply
Mm-hmm.
missing the mark.
Mm-hmm.
And as we're missing the mark, the purpose of that is not so much a um we're inadequate or something, but it's like, what if we practice all these things in our life? What if we put these things on? What type of experience
Mm-hmm.
will we have? Well, what we'll have is joy, peace, patience, love, all the fruit of the spirit.
Yeah.
Like, why?
Kindness and
Yeah,
ultimately self-control is, I think, what I'm working on here.
yeah. But
Yeah.
why are those things so necessary for our life? Why are those things seen as valuable? Because deep down, internally, that's what we desperately desire. And that's where, like, that's why the Bible's crafted the way it is to say, here's the things that help you get there. And then when you start to have those things in your life, it's like, this this is good. This is right. This feels so good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what we're all striving for, right? And that's why we are who we are, and why we all three have this faith in us is to, because we've seen the evidence of it. We've seen the proof of it, of when we pursue these things, what it does to our heart and in our life, and what it
Mm-hmm.
produces out of our life. And that's this fun journey. But yet here's the fun part: this is just another element of the whole spiritual journey, and that is how we pursue food, fitness, and also our mindset towards it.
Hmm.
So,
Well,
go
uh,
ahead.
well, yeah, I was just gonna say I'm learning this. The self control, I think, is just what comes back to me. Like, I don't need to eat that. I can eat this, and it does feel good for my body. It does fuel, and yeah, changes are happening that are positive. But go ahead, Kev.
Is there a day of the week that's the hardest?
Hmm.
Great question.
That is a good question. I mean, each day has its own challenges.
Because I know, like, when I know you mentioned like your Wednesdays are usually packed. I know sometimes for me, like, it might be like a Friday or Saturday when I'm like, oh, like I want to eat out, or it's I don't
hmm
know. Is there anything that like seems a little bit harder than other days?
I mean, not specifically. We don't eat out a whole lot right now, just because our evening routine is feed the kids. I think the hardest thing is, what I used to do is, we're making, you know, kids meals at home. Chicken nuggets and peas and or broccoli and something that's really easy to throw in the air fryer, and I would just kind of nibble along with them, kind of not really prepping a plate of food or portioning anything. I would just kind of eat whatever they're eating because it's convenient. It's right there. I don't really have time to sit down. I've got to get them in the bath or whatever next. So it's kind of just the hardest thing is having a daily routine that's consistent, because some days are heavier, schedule at work, but even days at home, it's entertaining kids um, you know, and then kind of crashing after that. After they go to bed, it's just kind of like feeling, you know, exhausted.
So I think I know the answer to this question. What's the hardest meal of the day to like stick to the diet plan? Would you? It sounds like maybe dinner.
Yeah, I guess that's probably it. Yeah.
What would you say is the easiest day of the week for you? Like just in
Hmm.
general, not necessarily diet wise, but like kind of your easier. You have more mental space.
Schedule. Yeah. Yeah, probably Monday.
Monday, okay. So, um, so like one, I don't know. For me, sometimes it's helpful to like think of those things because it's like okay, like for me with work, sometimes I'm like, all right, I know my 3 days of like 12 and a half hours are going to be super like time consuming, draining, stuff like that. So would try to think like, all right, on this day, it's a little bit easier and I have some more mental space and I have a little bit more in my cup. So I'm going
hmm
to like choose like 30 minutes or an hour out of that day and just kind of like make a bunch of breakfasts and put them in the
hmm
fridge or make a bunch of like meals. And so maybe that's something you could try is like, okay, Mondays are easier. So maybe I'll try to like plan ahead and I'll like
Yeah.
get dinners together or breakfasts together or whatever it is. Maybe you could like prep a little bit while you have that mental space.
I think that makes sense. What I'm realizing is, I think I've kind of the first couple weeks, I kind of did all the meals that were kind of like either easy or straightforward, and now to create more menu options, I think that's the next hurdle is me kind of looking at what meals I can create and then taking the time to like buy the ingredients, prep the food, like that just kind of all feels overwhelming, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
and you'll
like,
you'll get there. You'll get there.
yeah.
It's I think you're almost there to start to implement that. But I just add one thing to what Kevin's like even
hmm
identifying here is, I also wonder is how we show ourselves self-care really is something that we can be intentional with. So sometimes when we've had a long day, what we could say to us is, you know what, if I go home and I meal prep right now, that's really going to actually help me to decompress from the day.
Hmm.
Yes, I'm going to be tired, but it's actually something that's so monotonous that it's going to let me let go of the day. And so it's just sometimes we just have to give vocabulary and value to the things that
Mm-hmm.
we actually need. Then, like, we don't need to go home and watch TV because that actually stops the process of decompressing,
Right.
and we just go into numbing. But if we go into something that helps us to process, then what's naturally going to happen is then we actually get to let go. And what you're going to find over the next couple of weeks is how much you actually are letting go, and you're not just putting it on you. Because
Right.
what you've been doing is you've just been holding it in, putting it on you, saying, I'm strong, I can take this on, rather than say, I don't need to take this on, I can actually let it go.
Hmm.
And so it's the question is, how am I letting these things go in my life? What are the opportunities and the ways that I live that releases the things that I carry, that I'm called to carry? And that, I think that's going to shift you a lot as well in
Mm-hmm.
this time.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of outlets. I don't. I mean, I'm still trying to, do some of the exercises, but still finding time, to really allocate to me is a challenge.
Yep.
So probably just adding that to my calendar and
Yep.
making it happen. Um,
Yep. Block the time and call it a meeting. Okay. This is
okay.
weird, but call it a meeting. Okay. And because really what you're doing is you're having a meeting with yourself, but
Mm-hmm.
block the time. If the time's not blocked, it's very easy not to follow through on it.
Right.
But as you block it, then it's going to be there. Then second hurdle of that is you don't have to do it all. Just agree to start it. And
Okay.
as you first start it, then feel how you feel. Okay, you know what? Today I'm really feeling emotionally spent. I'm just going to do one set of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? That's a win. And then what's going to happen is it's going to start to become where you crave it, right? Like
Okay. Mm-hmm.
today, I haven't got to work out today, and I missed yesterday, right? So for me, I'm craving it right now, and so I'm looking forward to it because I know my
Hmm.
body is saying, if you do this, you'll get to process all that out, and you get to just
Hmm.
enjoy the feeling of just serving your body, practicing the discipline of putting your body under tension.
Hmm.
And I always feel better, but I always have to first say, this is going to be tiring, but afterwards I'm always going to feel better, and I'm going to be proud of myself, because
Right.
what I'm practicing is I'm learning how to hold the life that I'm called to hold.
Yeah, I would say a couple of things. So if you like practically, just from my experience of it, if there's like a go-to meal or whatever that you find is like that's easy, I can get it done. Like, don't be afraid to like run that meal ragged. Like for me, it was the yogurt, like it was the yogurt parfaits, like the
Yep,
Greek
Yeah.
I was thinking
yoghurt,
about that for him.
and like the blueberries and strawberries or things like that. Like I, when I was having my hard days or my hard times, I'm really craving this, or I'm craving sweets, or I'm like stressed out or whatever. That was
Mm-hmm.
something that was really easy for me to throw together, and it was like, you know what, I'm just gonna eat this, and and it didn't like fully satisfy the craving. Like if I'm wanting like chocolate chip cookies or whatever, but it like
Right.
got me full, and it was sweet enough to be like, okay, this is good, and it was very easy to throw together, to the point that like honestly, like even now, like being outside of the program, that's pretty much what I have almost every day,
Hmm.
because now it's to the point that it's like brushing my teeth. It's just so automatic and it's so easy to throw together that I just stick with that. And that's honestly one less decision I have to make in the day, where I'm like, what am I going to eat? What am I going to do? So if there's like a go-to meal that you're like, okay, this is easy and it tastes great enough to like eat and continue, like don't be afraid to keep coming back to that if that relieves like a lot of other stress. Um,
Yeah.
and
I think
even
that'll be
Hey,
easy to have a couple things to rely on at least.
yeah, real quick, Kevin, I want to highlight, you just said something really brilliant, is look, you've already developed this with your kids, with the easy go-to meals for your kids. You
Mm-hmm.
know what they love. You know that you can make it quick. you've already conditioned yourself in this. Now it's just saying, okay, well, what can this look like in this parameter? And what you're going to find is like, wow, I can find quick, easy things that fit, that actually serve me and serve my family.
Mm.
So that's the really cool part. Kevin, you brought that. That's a great point that you brought up.
Thanks. The other thing I would say too is like if you find yourself going into a situation, and this is where we kind of like learn from it, is if you find yourself going into a situation where you're like, all right, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to like stick to this plan, or I'm out doing things, or I'm so busy but I need to eat and I don't know what to do or whatever. Like that's honestly that's where you use your lifeline and like call in Jeremy or text him or something. Because I remember when I was going through it, I had to go out of town for a work thing, and like we meal prepped some meals, and I didn't know if I was going to have a mini fridge, but I didn't have enough for those days. But I knew it was going to get me through like a few days. But then I also kind of got tired of it, and I'm on this like it was a work trip at a beach, and I was like, oh, like my brain went into like vacation mode, and it starts going into like the conditioning of, oh, it's vacation and eat out and do all
Right.
these things. And so it was hard to stick to the meal plan. So it was like, all right, Jeremy, like, do you have time for a call? Like, I was like, look, man, I'm struggling. I really want some food. I want to eat out. What can I eat? He was like, oh, you can go to Chipotle and you can get this, this, and this, but don't get this in the bowl or this or whatever. Like, I would say, like, just kind of like your trip here. Don't be afraid to like use your lifeline, but don't be ashamed if you don't use your lifeline and you're still trying
Yep.
little things.
Right. Okay, that's good.
Yeah. Well, hey, let's this is a perfect place to land today, and I'm excited for the conversations that are going to come, the more transformation that's going to happen. But beyond anything, I hope, Doug, you feel from me and Kevin that we're just impressed by you. We're proud of you. We're honored to call you friend, and I'm also honored that you allow me to torture you in this way during this time. Uh, but thank you, and man, this week is going to be really just marked with a lot of success,
Yeah.
and just know, let that be a part of your journey. Is like be proud of yourself this week,
Yeah,
because
and I
number
guess
one, you're 9 pounds down already.
yeah.
Okay, and this is just the beginning, and there's going to be even more significant mild markers that we're gonna push past,
Okay.
and just enjoy the process, and let's have some fun until the next video.
Well, yeah, and going back to the old dialectic, which is I could have done a little bit better, but I am doing the best that I can, but I could have done a little bit better.
Yep, and that's okay.
So, yeah.
And that's what we want. We want to be in a place where it's just we're pushing ourselves so much so that that's where we discover growth.
Right.
And if we're not learning, then are we really pushing ourselves? Are we really
Well, I
practicing
need
these
the
things?
structure, so thank you for putting me back in the structure.
Yeah, yeah, anytime. All right, you two. Well, hey, let's have a blast. Let's keep running after this week. Remember, this week, keep it super simple. And
Okay.
until next time, everyone.
In the
See you
words
All
of
guys.
right.
Fred Durst, Doug, keep on keeping on, man. Just keep on.
Keep
All
on
right.
keeping on.
I'll see you guys next
See you
week.
guys.
All right, see
Yeah.
ya.
All right.